Okay, I should be live. We're going to teach a little yin yoga class today. And I think we've figured out the sound. I'm going to give it exactly 5 minutes before I start in case anybody's joining live, though that may not be the case for too many. And if you're catching up with this class later on, grab yourself at least one block. And if you don't have a block, you can grab yourself a towel. I'm just going to get that towel and show you guys what you can do with it. So bath towels, beach towels, what may have in the house will work. And you'll just roll up your towel to present vertically so you can have a little bit of support. And so feel free to take this next about 3 minutes to do that. Grab what you need, any water. And if you want to follow along on a live playlist, you can do so. My handle name on Spotify is My Friend Simone. And if you're following along on earbuds, the earbuds app is my name, Simone. And I'm going to go live shortly. Husband Paul, are we all up and running there? We got about another minute of time before we get started. If you're already ready to go, just find your way onto your mat and lie on your back body and create a little bit of resting in Shavasana. And playlist for today is YIN Tuesday, May 22nd, or 26th, excuse me, Tuesday, May 26th. And as you get onto your back body, separate your feet, mat width distance. Let your toes fan out a little heavy. And I'm going to start the playlist right now. So if you're joining, you can start it in 3, 2, and 1. You might even tuck your chin in just a bit. The benefit of that is to elongate your neck body as you lie down on the mat. And this being a little bit of a surprise class, mostly because we're testing out what's working and what isn't. We're typically here on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific. and 12 p.m. Eastern time, just in the future if you ever want to connect. Again, if you're joining just now and you want to play the playlist off Spotify, it's my friend Simone handle name. Playlist is dated YIN Tuesday, May 26th. And you can also join in live through the Earbuds app. It's already going. At any point that it feels like a good idea in your body, take a massive letting go, sigh, exhale breath. Just you can flutter your lips a bit. You can feel the space of your upper and lower jaw. If you're still holding on to tension, sometimes I kind of reach my fingertips long or even make a fist in the hands. And then through the exhale after that, you just let that soften and let go as a kind of signal to your body to transition into a space of give and release for yourself. The yin poses that we'll be getting into today, those shapes, we hold them anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. So just managing our expectation as we get into the space of our practice. Managing expectation in the way of kind of how we've had to shift our expectation around this time in the world, right? Stilling down a little bit, slowing down. We're not quite stimulated in the way that we were before this quarantine, this virus. And we've learned to adjust to a different space and pace that we need to be in. So, transitioning here in this Shavasana to start our class, to know that there's going to be space and pace to get to know your body and move slow when we move, meeting the breath with fluidity and time, gestures of ease. You can take a stretch of the arms overhead. Maybe reach through fingers, draw the legs closer together, point the toes, breathe in a little morning stretch here. And then bring in the knees to the chest, belly, and then wrap the arms, hands around the shins or knees in a little hug, breath out. Take a pause here as you put the soles of the feet onto the mat. And whether you need to roll to the left or the right side a little bit to get up to a seat, you're going to sit up and you're going to face the back of the mat to set up for our first yin pose. You're going to take your block or your towel. If you're using your block, it'll be at this height. So if my hand was the floor, right, put the block down to the floor at that height. You're going to look for this space behind you where the block is going to go across your shoulder blades. And if you don't have a block, you're going to do it with a rolled up towel across your shoulder blades horizontally. So we'll feel for where that might hit. Look back at ourselves to kind of see where our shoulder blades or the upper back will meet the floor. Now, the thing is, if you have a block and you're doing it with a block, then maybe using a second block or your towel to catch your head. And if you only have one prop, then putting that block a little lower underneath your shoulder blades so your head doesn't hang down into space. Essentially, you want to make a bit of a building space for your head and your back body. So whether your head comes to the floor, maybe you need to grab for something else to just snuggle it in underneath your head. Some of us in the throat body are particularly tight there, maybe not as flexible. So just feeling for what's available to you. It's a pretty intense posture and thus an intense gesture as we get in. So take a few breaths before you decide what it is. Maybe letting those breaths tell you. And again, just a reminder after those couple of breaths, it's usually a nice indication as to how the shape is suiting you and maybe in the places that it isn't. And so maybe you're adjusting heights on things underneath you. Maybe if you're using a block, you go a little lower than I initially suggested. And then trying to find ways in to surrender to the shape. My typical way in is to let go of that little bit of unfamiliar, that little bit of discomfort. When we take on shapes, especially ones with big gestures of sensation and stretch, they're not necessarily familiar or home-like, and they'll challenge us just by way of setting our body up. So letting that part of what we're doing go and just meeting your breath and taking bigger inhales and certainly bigger exhales, maybe even sighs to settle in. Noticing the the opportunity in the breath as you inhale to spread the center of your chest just a little wider. Noticing that exhale softening or grounding your back body a little more to either your towel or your block. And can that grounding echo into the rest of the body, into your glutes and your thighs and the heaviness of your heels and feet to the mat? And we'll take two more breaths here. Deep inhale as you fill up. There's a kind of balloon space in your chest and belly. And a slow but steady and necessary exhale. And perhaps on that second inhale breath, maybe fill up a little more and hold at the top. Hold that beat of space. And an audible exhale to let it go. A little waking up in the fingers, maybe reaching, bending, and taking one of your hands to lift your head. Keep your head lifted a little higher than your chest, and then use your forearms or hands to press a lift up. Just taking your time, setting your block off to the side, and lying back down on your back body. Whoop. Moving any towels, blocks, anything that you put underneath your back body and your head to receive you, moving that out of the way as you lie back down. You can stay with about 5 to 8 breaths on our back body. And just keeping with that. And just noticing if you've got any devices on, anything that's moving, taking sound away, taking your time away from you. I just did a little double check into this space here. I'm going to come back up to a sit slow and steady, and you're going to face the back of your mat. I'm going to use our props again, just one this time. You can take your block or your towel. I'll do it with a block and at the lowest height. So if my hand was the floor, that's where it would look like for you guys. It's going to go across the midsection of your back body. And if it were mirroring in front, it would be kind of across your rib cage, the heart of your rib cage. And as you lie down, you want to make sure that you're able to put your bum on the ground and then put your head on the ground. And for this shape, you might option to bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. Have a little added stretch through the inner thighs and into the hips. And then kind of place your arms down so that they rest to the floor rather than in any way holding up the arms. So sometimes that means a pretty ample bend through the elbows as you have that block underneath the midsection of your spine and across that midsection horizontally. Again, you can do that with a towel. And there's a kind of thrust of your ribs up and splaying out because of that thrust up through the support of your block and towel. And so the best way into these shapes, these yin shapes, is to just notice the points of where you're fighting it, where you might be fighting the shape, where you might be fighting it perceptively, where you might be holding the breath, and just kind of give in significantly, one inhale and exhale at a time. Receiving the base and support of your block and your towel underneath you, but letting the other parts, the upper back hang heavy, the head hang heavy. And just noticing that big mountain of space. And whether there was this effort to search, to fill in, allowing for whenever possible to just kind of get lost deeper and deeper into it. It's a pretty intense stretch here through the back body and in that middle part. So we're just going to be here for another 3 to 4 breaths. And I encourage you to just find big expressions of inhale. Maybe a wee hold at the top and big expressions of exhale. And maybe a wee kind of hold at the bottom, exploring what it feels like to empty out the body. If you've got your knees wide in a Baddha Konasana expression, just taking your hands to your outer knees and thighs, helping them come up like a closed book, and bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Picking up the head so it's a little level with your chest, pausing there, and then using your elbows and your hands and coming up to a sit. There should be a little bit of aching through the back body, especially if you were using a block. They're not pillows, right? So, but right away, getting whatever's behind you out of the way so that you can lie back down. Just let that settle. Settle and simmer off. Let it go. Now, if you had your legs in that previous pose in a kind of butterfly expression, you'll have the added benefit of maybe feeling how your hips are more open door like in this Shavasana. Even subtly, that may be the case. I'm going to step the soles of the feet onto the mat. Hopefully, it's the case that you can stay on your back body and either reach for your block or your towel that's rolled up. If that's not the case, no problem. Shift out, come back down, find what you need. And from a lying down position on your back body with the soles of the feet to the mat, knees looking up, you're going to press through the soles of the feet, thrust your pelvis up just a bit, and sneak your block or your towel underneath your sacrum. I'm going to invite you, if you're using a block, to either go to the lowest or medium height, but try and resist the urge to stand up that block vertically. Don't go quite that high just yet. Back to that managing expectation thing, taking our time, meeting space and pace. So that would mean, what does this feel like right here? Some of you that are familiar with this pose might know that you'll lengthen your legs out, but can you hold off on getting to a place and enjoying being in the place? Just feeling how and what has shifted. And then maybe you do lengthen out through the legs and rest the heels on the mat. It may be a level of intensity into this shape that's taken away the luxury of having full on breaths in and out through the nose. So we don't want that for our yin. We want to be able to feel more yin than yang. A little less is more. And with the lift of the pelvis up, the kind of thrust up, that splaying open through the almost points of your hips, resting of your legs, whether they're bent or long. Just noticing in the resting of your legs how you can kind of turn off the glutes and soften your bum. And doing this work of really investigating the first phase of this pose, committing to at least 3 more breaths in what you've set up thus far. And then maybe after your 3 breaths, you either get a little higher on your block or add another rolled up towel on top of the rolled up towel, or use a combination of a rolled up towel and the block, or you stay put. But if you're making a change after those few breaths and you have your legs long, you'd need to bend them, grounding the soles of the feet again to the mat and going a little higher as you press up, if that's your choice. For my pose today in this supported bridge pose, I've gone really high with the block, and you can see it's a pretty intense offering. So it may be the case that some people can lengthen their legs, but that's going to really take it all the way home. So for me, I'm going to back off of that today. I don't need to do that. I want to be in a place of ease, and less is more. Remember, if you're stopping the pathway of breath in your poses, you're not in yoga. That is the first and foremost of any shape we take. And doing a little body scan as you receive this pose. Head to toe, toe to head. Where can you soften all the parts of the body, especially the ones that aren't front and center to this pose? So we're in our back body, we're in our hips, but what are the toes and the fingertips doing? What is the jaw doing? What are the eyes doing? Where can we let go? Savor the next 2 breaths as you are in stillness. And then, if your legs are long, if you've made that choice for yourself, bring the soles of the feet to the mat. Step maybe the heels a little closer to the bum. If you're really high up, you might get onto the balls of the feet, heels up. Lift or sneak up the pelvis a little higher. Take away your prop, whatever that is. Come down slow. And go right to that place of lengthening the legs as you come down for a beat. Breathe in and out. After lengthening the legs in what looks like a shavasana through one breath, then step the soles of the feet on the mat once more. Bend in the legs, but feet mat width distance. And then knock the knees inward towards one another. Rest those guys up against one another so you can feel a little bit of release through the lower back. Taking a deep breath in through the nose and a deep breath out. Yes, I have a dog. She likes to make a presence at every class. Take your time, get slow. Find a little bit of release as you sit up. And then we're going to roll over onto our side body and find a little bit of a fetal position. In your fetal position, curl your knees up a lot with your hips. And take your time and just roll into a twist. So you're opening your heart towards the sky and your arms could tee out long. It should feel like a nice, sweet bit of release through the lower back. And you might want to use whatever props you have to just put in between your legs, especially if your top leg is kind of up, and away from your bottom leg. So that way you don't have to use a hand to press down. Taking any kind of action-packed muscle in vibe away from this. Just finding out what it is to meet the breath in a twist. It shifts quite a bit from how it is in a lot of other poses. So being aware of sending your breath through the side body, weaving it in between each rib, breathing in and out. Take your big breaths in through the nose. And a slow but steady exhale out the mouth, maybe feeling the part of the upper and lower jaw as you let that go. Take another full inhale into this twist. Maybe a little more weight through that shoulder blade. That's a little more away from the floor. And just exhaling that out. If you have a block or your towel in between your legs, just taking that away and rolling back onto your side body, fetal position. I'm going to get right into another twist, but we're going to keep our knees as they are in this fetal position and use the palm to press down to the floor to lift your torso up and get up on your bottom forearm and feel a little stretch through your side body. So you kind of prop yourself up. Take a moment here to breathe into your torso and just feel that significant breath massage its way through. And from this place, out of your exhale breath, turn your torso and your gaze to face the top of the mat and get in and on to your forearms. So your fingertips look towards the top of your mat with your knees and legs mostly staying in the same shape. So you're twisting into this offering. And as you come a little deeper into it, I like to layer my forearms underneath my forehead and lie mostly flat to the heart and belly towards the mat. And you could also alternatively put your chin down or your cheek to the mat. For those that like a little added sensation, you might bring your opposite cheek down so that you're looking away from your legs. And anything you ever add on in the way of your shapes, especially as you step in yin poses, anything that's too much can be taken away. Take 2 more breaths here in this added twist with belly and heart heavy to the floor. And then starting to peep the head up and come back on the forearms with the fingertips looking straight ahead towards the top of your mat. So the way you came in, the way you come out. I'm going to press your palm. For me, it's my left palm, and what was the top arm in the fetal position. And press that palm down so you can thread your other arm underneath and just roll onto your back body. And as you get onto your back body, from that space, just noticing what's different from side to side. You're going to move into the fetal position on the other side. For me, it's my left side. For you, you'll likely be away from facing your monitor. And again, if you need that block or that towel in between your knees, maybe setting it up now and then rolling open into a twist. And the twist rolling open, you want your heart mostly facing flat up to your ceiling. You want mostly both shoulder blades connected to the ground. So you might snuggle into that deeper. And just finding a way to rest the body of the arms, the body of the hands, and the heavy of the back of the head. Noticing again the breath, the shifts and pathways it works its way through in your body. The way it might need to behave slightly different in a twist. Getting used to the space and the pace, the space of quiet, long pause, and then pace is slowing down. Taking about 3 more breaths here. And out of those 3 breaths, rolling back onto your side body, fetal position, and removing whatever prop, if you have that, in between your legs away. And out of that space of stillness in fetal position, press into your palm. The arm that's on top, palm presses down, and get onto your forearm and find a little sweet stretch across and into this left side. Maybe take another breath in and out, and then make a turnaround through the torso and the gaze. Fingertips are now pointing to the top of the mat. You're entering another phase and version of twist. Again, assess here how it feels. Maybe you need to shift your legs slightly, but they mostly stay in the same position. Maybe you stay up for a beat or two, or you start to snuggle in to your version of bringing the belly down and lying the heart down. You can take a position of the cheek to the mat or on your arms. You can take the position of your chin resting down or your forehead on your hands and arms. Lots of options, but just finding a place of rest. Carrying the breath in and into your lower belly, following it in through its maneuvering, its side to side, filling you up, and following it out, slow and steady. And take a breath together, breathe in, and slow out the mouth. Come up onto your forearms again. Keep the twist. Find a press through the palm, that hand that was on top for the fetal position. And then thread the other arm underneath so that you're finding an easy way to roll onto the back body. And just feeling for a bit of feedback, that work in the spine, the space that it might have given you from this Shavasana to the one we started up with. And so just allowing yourself to settle that down into this final pose here, where maybe you do that body scan, head to toe, toe to head, and you notice for what is different from where we started, what is more available to that overall space and pace that we're trying to meet by, in a way, trying to stop trying. Just go. Could it be that you could give yourself over to this final pose for at least 10 to 20 breaths? And if you're committed to that, it may be the case that you follow your inhale for the count of 1 and you follow your exhale for the count of 2. And if we stay committed to that follow of breath in and out and that staying still in this final shape, it's entirely possible that you'll lose track and you'll slip in to the justified space of rest and ease. I'll be back here tomorrow. And God willing, all of the technical stuff will be worked out. But I thank you for joining me on this surprise yin that I showed up to do today. And I welcome you, remind to honor this final shape. Take it easy. Lots of love. Namaste.